Hello there and welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining me, Claire Jefford, and we are talking today about a real client project. So this is when I am sharing details of a specific project that I had with a client, basically going through the whole breakdown, my CLAIRE-ity. So we're going to get to that in a minute so you can understand how we go through all of the events and what happened, what my fee was. I break it all down for you. I disclose everything. This is the naked truth. All right, let's dive into it. My real client project. And this was a client that I worked with in 2016. So this is going back quite a few years now. And so let's start off. We're going to go through the CLAIRE-ity, which starts at C is for clients. Okay, so who were the clients? Location is for the L, or locate. How did they locate me? How did they find me? That's always great for your marketing to make sure that you're tracking that. A is for the assignment. So what was the project that they hired me to help them with? I is for the initial consultation fee. What was the fee for that? I think it's always great to put that into perspective and to see how far we've come. Rates for the project. That's for the R. So what did it cost the clients to hire me for the project? What was their budget? How did I invoice them? And then we're also looking at the events. So what happened? Basically, what happened throughout? Was it smooth sailings? Was there anything that came up? I'll tell you. And in the end, the I is for in the end. Okay, what happened in the end? And the takeaways. Okay, so what were my takeaways? And then the Y is over to you. I want you to tell me if you've had similar experience or what you thought about this lesson that I'm sharing with you here today about a real client project. All right, these clients were lovely, lovely, lovely clients. And they were busy, a busy working couple. Both of them worked, I don't know if it was downtown, but they had, good jobs. They have 2 kids. Kids are both in sports. So it's a busy family, really busy family. And the area that they lived in is one of the most sought after areas in my town. And I had a client, at least one client, 2 clients here before, actually 2 clients in that same neighborhood. So it was a really great neighborhood to get into. Beautiful homes, older homes, just lovely, had some character to them. Absolutely loved it. Down near the lakeshore. So that was the clients. That's a little information about the clients there. How did they locate me? They located me through House, as many people did years ago. Still getting some people from House, actually. 2 of my last inquiries and one who hired me on through House. So I'm still there. They're still finding me. I just don't actively participate on House anymore in terms of adding any more photos to my portfolio. I focus more on Google now. The assignment. So what was their project? So their project was a small reading room that was off of the back of the house. So it was off of, like, you would come through the back door. They had a pool. You come through the back door. You come into this little sitting room first, and then you get into the main area of the house, the living room, the kitchen. So in this area, they'd already had built-ins made for the kids for their backpacks. When they come home from school, they've each got their, cupboard that they would put their stuff in. But other than that, it was a clean slate. So, and it was a tiny room, so it wasn't a large space. And usually what would have happened is I would be looking at that time at a minimum expenditure of about $25,000 when I'm talking to clients. And we're talking about, what to budget for a space. But in this particular instance, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that in a bit. But, it wasn't a big room. So what was needed was a couple of seating, 2 seat, whether it was going to be 2 shades or 2 seats in an ottoman. They needed a lamp. They needed artwork or a mirror. They needed a little window treatment, an area rug, a side table. And that was pretty much it. So it wasn't a huge space to furnish, but it was a cute little room. I was so pleased with how it turned out, but I'm jumping the gun here. So the initial consultation fee was, at that time, I was charging $400. That was in fall of 2016. So 4 years later, and I'm charging $700 now for a 2-hour consultation. The rates for the project was $1,200. I charged them for the plans, and that was to put together two concept ideas, 3D, mood board, and choose all of the furnishings. And when I did that one specifically, I believe some of the things were the same. I brought in different options for fabrics, but the main chairs, I offered like 2 chaises or a chair and an ottoman, and they were the same. That was the same fabric, but I gave them a couple options for the window treatment, which was a nice little valance. A couple options for pillows, 2 options for a table, 2 options for a lamp, and I think 1 option for a mirror because I found the perfect mirror to fit in the space. So just to give you a little bit of an idea for that, I did require 50% up front for that, so $600 up front. And then the balance, actually at that time, I looked back at my notes, and the balance was due at the presentation. Now my balance is due 5 days prior to the presentation. All right, so just to give you a little bit of an idea, I never go to the presentation and haven't already been paid upfront fully for the scope of work that I've done. So there's no kind of like awkward at the end of it, like, okay, can I get a check from you now? It's all taken care of right before I even show up, which is lovely. And that's how I do the consultation as well. I get paid ahead of time. So I highly recommend that if you're not doing it already. And I just find the clients don't have a problem with it. They don't quibble about it. It's my process. It's how I work. So it can seem a little bit daunting at first to be asking for that money up front, but it books you, it secures the clients in your calendar, and then you know what you're expecting in terms of, to balance your other projects that you have going on. Okay. The retainer was $500 that I took once I started working. So after I presented to them, then I started, putting together, basically ordering everything, tracking it, and was there for the install. I got a retainer of $500. And that's because at the time I was charging a $75 an hour for admin and travel and $175 for my design services. So when I look back at this, I was actually quite surprised. I was like, 4 hours, that's about 4 hours to implement and order it all. That's not a lot. But I had $107 owing at the end of it. So I pretty much came in at that 4 hours because though, it wasn't a huge space, right? Like, so for me to order everything was probably an hour. Again, the folder's over here. But it was probably an hour for me to order everything and then to track it. And then I was there 2 hours for the install, and then we were done. So it was beautiful, great. So we had $107 owing at the end. So I always say I like to be around $100, whether I owe the client $100 back or they owe me $100 back. But once we get that retainer, you're never out of pocket by like thousands. Never, never, never. And then the furnishings budget. So this is what I wanted to talk a little more specifically about. So her furnishing budget was about $10,000. And I know when I'd first spoken to her at that time, the way that I was, my mindset was, the way that I was running my business, I was really wanting that $25,000 minimum expenditure for a room. But as I was talking to her and then I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what, that $25,000 sometimes as a minimum for a custom living room has also included like built-ins or, a piece of furniture like a console, which is sometimes $4,000 or $5,000 for a beautiful console piece that we've done for clients before, or the built-ins can be $8,000 to $12,000. And that wasn't happening on this project. So I was like, you know what? I think 10,000 is definitely reasonable. So that's where I'm saying that at the beginning I mentioned that I did sway a little bit, or not, but I was flexible, right? So I made a judgment call as a business owner and speaking with this woman who was a lovely lady in a beautiful neighborhood. I love the idea of her project, and I was okay then to go from the 25,000 down to 10,000. Because of all of these different factors. So don't be afraid to bend. Just know when to bend. You don't bend on when you're going to take money. You don't bend on, some of your other processes if you don't want to be texting with clients or, various things. But for this, I was like, I think this could be okay. What I did look back on was interesting, and I probably mentioned this on previous podcasts where I share my real client stories, is that at the time I was taking 50% up front. So I took 50% up front for the total furnishings and then 50% before the install. Today, and for the last, as long as I can remember, it's been 100%. So I take 100% for client furnishings up front before I place any orders. The events, well, I have to tell you, was actually pretty uneventful in the nicest way possible, right? Yeah, everything went really smoothly. There was no renovation work. There was no paint work that was being done. There was no install of hardwood. The area rug was something that me and my husband, even on the day of install, he came with me. We had an underpad put in that. The guys came and they delivered the furniture, which again was very minimal. We had my guy hang the artwork. And other than that, it was pretty pretty uneventful. And I say that in the nicest way possible. It wasn't boring. It was just lovely. It's lovely to have a project go where nothing is on back order and nothing is, nothing goes wrong, right? You're not waiting for anything. So in the end, it all turned out beautifully. My client was happy. I was thrilled with how it turned out. It looked beautiful. I still haven't photographed it yet because we actually did go in and she hired us back again. So she got, I keep in touch with my clients through my email list. As soon as a client calls me, it's part of my Rock the Consultation. As soon as a client calls me, I have a conversation with them and I say at the end, is it okay if I put you on my email list? Can we stay in touch? I kind of say it in a nicer way than that. Can we stay in touch? I send out an email about once a month to my clients and they're like, sure. Not many people say no to that. So it's worth asking. And so she'd obviously been also getting my emails going forward. And then I got a email, reply. That's usually what happens. They reply to the email that I send out. And she said, okay, we're looking at doing our living room and dining room now. We'd love to work with you again. So I was like, awesome. So that was when I went with my gut and I was like, okay, I'm not going to be a stickler for this 25,000. The 10,000 is fine for the project that she's talking about. And, I was able to then get my foot into the living room. Well, actually, we did the dining room. We've done the dining room. And so now I got to get back in touch with her about doing the living room. But, so that was in 2018 when they hired us back again. So I just want you to be aware of that in your business. When can you bend a little bit? When is it okay? And when is it like, okay, yeah, no, this is a red flag and it's not making my gut feel good, right? So that's something that I just want you to, to think about when you're talking to those potential clients. And yeah, everything worked out beautifully. The only thing that happened was, I think it was a few days later, she contacted me and she just sent me a photo of like a damaged piece on the mirror. And so this is the beauty of working with me, right? So at working with you, if you're as a designer listening, so I take the call and I say, okay, send me a photo, and I get in touch with my design center and we replace the mirror. We go back and I did just have to charge her to get the guys to go back and install because I had to get someone to go and rehang it. But again, we take care of that for you, right? So anyway, so that was it. Everything else went off without a hitch, I'm happy to say. So that was good. Anyway, so over to you. So have you ever bent a little bit on your processes when you felt that it's necessary? Did you bend and maybe it was a wrong time to bend? Were you a little flexible and you thought afterwards, ooh, I should have strayed from that process? Usually I'm a real stickler for your processes, but like I said, sometimes every project is different. Every client is different, every situation. So there may be times when you need to kind of just have a little check-in and go, could I do this? Is this going to make sense? Or is this actually going to harm down the line, So anyway, so that's it. That's the CLAIRE-ity of my real client project with this lovely, lovely lady. And I hope that you enjoyed that. I love sharing these stories with you. And make sure that you are in my Facebook group if you're not already. It's IDBS, where there is no BS. That's Interior Design Business Strategies. And I look forward to seeing you there and seeing you next time on the podcast. All right. Cheers.